Hey, this is Mike for the Run Testers. This is the new Brooks Glycerin 22, a new Brooks shoe that's actually launching in early 2025 in the UK, and I'll put a precise date when that is up on screen. Now, for Glycerin fans, there's one pretty big change from the Glycerin 21. There's also some smaller changes which we'll get into in this video as well. Now, myself and Tom have both had some early running time in the new Glycerin, and what we're going to do, as I said, take you through the key differences and what's new from the Glycerin 21, then get into some early running thoughts and let you know what we're thinking of the Brooks Glycerin 22 so far. So let's run you through those key Brooks Glycerin 22 details. First, price, and Brooks is sticking to the same £165 and $165 price as the Glycerin 21, putting it below the new Glycerin Max and above the Ghost Max 2 in terms of pricing. Weight-wise, a UK size 8 dropped in on the scales at 292 grams, making it heavier than the Glycerin 21 in the same size. Brooks sticks to a 10mm drop and the same stack heights and swaps its DNA Loft V3 cushioning technology for its new dual size cell DNA tuned foam that debuted on the Glycerin Max. That new foam puts larger cells in the heel for plush landings for hill strikers and smaller ones in the forefoot for a more responsive feel. Above that is a new double jacquard knit upper, which provides plenty of padding throughout, including more around the heel collar for additional support and comfort. Brooks has added more rubber to the outsole with noticeably more coverage at the forefoot to boost durability and make sure the Glycerin 22 is fit to clock up plenty of running mileage.
So the fit for me in the Brooks Glycerin 22, I'm a size 8 in the UK. This is very similar to the fit that you get in previous versions of the Glycerin. There's plenty of space in the forefoot, plenty of space before the big toe. The space around the side of the front section of the shoe is pretty good, so there's a lot of space for your toes to move around. And the midfoot is pretty average as well, so it's not the widest shoe out there, but it's definitely a shoe that's designed to be a bit more accessible. I've got fairly average width feet, and I found it to be very, very comfortable and had lots of space in it as well. There's loads of padding around the ankle collar of the shoe. It's a very, very comfortable shoe, quite a plush shoe to wear. So yeah, all in all, very comfortable, good shoe, and I didn't have any issues, so I definitely stick to my size in this shoe.
So fit has looked solid for me so far on the Glycerin 22. I've got it in a UK size 8, the same size I had the Glycerin 21. I've got in the standard width fit option and expect to see alternative, options if you want something a little bit more roomier like you did on the Glycerin 21 to be replicated on the 22. But for me, it's felt very good in terms of that fit, very good in terms of that space at front of the toe box, opening up into the midfoot as well. It is still going to be a roomy, accommodating shoe, and that's kind of what I'm seeing so far in my time in the 22. I would say the biggest differences for me is that you're just getting a slight leveling up in that padding. There's a bit more padding in that tongue to improve things on the comfort side of things. I think it's most noticeable in the heel collar, particularly in the inside of that heel collar, where you're getting a little bit more padding in the 22 compared to the 21. And visually, you can just see there's a little bit more going on there around the heel collar to add that additional level of support and comfort. But for me, I think going true to size should be absolutely fine. I wouldn't be looking to, sizing up or down in this shoe, and pretty much sticking to the shoe size of the Glycerin 21. I think for most people is probably going to be the right way to go. So my first run in the Brooks Glycerin 22 was an 8-mile run, and I was averaging 8:30-minute mile pace in that run, dropping it slightly less than that, but not much less. Definitely kind of utilising the 22 in the same way that I would use the 21. So, easy runs, recovery, kind of relaxed runs. This isn't a shoe I'm expecting to run my faster sessions in. Now, the first thing I would say from that first run that I really noticed was, there's a whole lot of shoe here, just like the 21. This isn't a shoe you're going to go out and forget that it's on. It is a big shoe to kind of run in, and you're reminded about it throughout the run, or I was, definitely. Now, it's probably one of my criticisms of the 21. I would have liked it to be a lighter shoe for me, and it's now got heavier in the 22. And I think for me, I'm slightly disappointed to see that has jumped up a little bit in weight. I can see why it has. There's more padding there. There's a bit more rubber on that outsole, and that's obviously contributed to that addition in weight that you're getting in the Glycerin 22. I think the other thing here is obviously the ride. You're getting a change in cushioning technology. I felt for me the ride on the 21 was a little bit lackluster for me. I don't think I got a really memorable experience from it. I think particularly given what else was happening in Brooks's range with its cushion shoes, I think there were shoes that I had a more memorable experience in. I think with the changes here, I do think the ride so far feels a little bit nicer for me. I think the biggest thing I notice is that there's a slightly higher rebound compared to the 21. I think there's a little bit more bounce. It's not massively elevated. It's not massively lively in a way that I think the Glycerin Max, the experience my Glycerin Max was. But I do think the rebound and that higher bounce just feels a little bit more noticeable. I think what that does, it instantly makes the ride, again, feel a little bit more memorable than it did on the Glycerin 21. I felt like I could roll through very nicely in this shoe. It still has all those qualities of the Glycerin shoe. It's very stable, it's very controlled. I think, as I said, the qualities of the Glycerin is still very much there, but I do think that bounce is just a little bit more pronounced for me. You roll through a little bit nicer, still, very, kind of smooth fashion. But yeah, there's just a little bit more there for me. Is it a soft and plush feeling as the Glycerin Max? I don't think for me it is. And I think, does that mean that the DNA tuned here gives it the same level of versatility? I'm not quite sure. When I did try to pick the pace up in this, I just think there's a lot of shoe. It's a wider shoe as well compared to the Glycerin Max, and I think that probably counts against it being a shoe that you probably want to run a little bit more at tempo and even more moderate paces. So I think, the qualities of the Glycerin are still there. I do think that the ride for me and the change of the midsole make it a more memorable, or definitely made it a more memorable experience in that first run compared to my first run in the Glycerin 21. But it is a heavier shoe, there's a little bit more rubber, and the outsole, which for me was fine. I was in dry conditions and it was absolutely fine. As I say, there's more rubber, and I think you can get more durability and life out of this shoe, which I think from a Glycerin shoe, we're already going to get good life out of it. From a gripping point of view, it's fine, but I'd like to see how it fared in wetter conditions and, see whether it holds up from that point of view. So yeah, I would say a good first run in the Glycerin 22. It does feel very similar to the Glycerin 21, but I do think that DNA tuned, I'm intrigued to see how that's going to feel over more running time, because I think right now I'm definitely seeing a more memorable ride and experience. Is it going to soften up? Maybe is it going to still have that liveliness over kind of more testing? Those are the things I want to find out. And whether I can kind of maybe forget about that, or, would help to forget about the added weight that you're getting on the Glycerin 22, which is probably the quality that I'm not loving most in that first run.
So my first run in the shoe was a 15k run at quite a comfortable pace for me. It's 2 days before Christmas. I can't be bothered to do any fast intervals or anything like that this week. So I went out and did a 15k at my easy pace, which is about 5-minute kilometers. And what I found on that run is it's very similar to what I've experienced in the previous version of the shoe, and quite similar to the earlier versions as well. It's this new DNA tuned midsole, which is the same one you get in the Brooks Glycerin Max. In the Brooks Glycerin Max, there's more of it, and it does feel a bit softer and a little bit more energy returning than it does in this shoe. To me, this feels very similar to the previous version of the shoe, the Glycerin 21, which is essentially a very balanced midsole. It's very stable. It doesn't feel really soft. There's not loads of energy return in it, but it does feel very comfortable out on the run. For that 15k, it felt absolutely fine. Didn't really think about it on the feet. Felt very solid. No issues at all with it. But equally, it's not an amazingly bouncy shoe or amazingly soft shoe or anything like that. It's just a very balanced shoe, which a lot of people can run in. And that's really what the Glycerin range has always really gone for. A slightly more expensive version of something like the Ghost range, where it's really trying to tick all those boxes. You want a nice balanced shoe that's giving you stability and comfort, but it isn't going too far off the rails and giving you loads of softness or loads of energy return. It's just very much designed to make everyone happy, and it does that very well. It's a very comfortable, solid, reliable shoe, and I definitely, over that first 15k, I think it's much of the same of what you would experience from this line. It's a shoe that's very much just designed to just tick off the miles. I think it'd be a very good shoe if you were doing easy runs, recovery runs, and long runs as well, a nice comfortable pace. So yeah, very much found it to be a solid ride on that first run that I did. Nothing particularly spectacular from it, but that's not generally what you look for in the Glycerin range. You're looking for that sort of reliable that ride that gives you a good level of comfort. Wasn't that wet out there today, or at least it wasn't too slippy or anything like that. This outsole seems absolutely fine though from that first run. There is quite a bit of exposed midsole on it. I haven't seen any signs from that first run of any sort of wear or tear. This rubber on the outsole is really thick, so I think it'd take a while to wear it down to the point where you start getting to that midsole. But the midsole is actually seems relatively durable. It doesn't seem like a delicate midsole foam. So yeah, nice outsole on it as well. My early verdict on the Brooks Glycerin 22, very much what you would expect from the Glycerin range. Solid, sturdy, stable, comfortable, and nicely balanced. The midsole foam isn't a massive detraction from what you would have experienced in the Brooks Glycerin 21. It's maybe a tiny bit softer, but not massively, and you're getting a very, very similar ride. So it's definitely a shoe that, if you are looking for a shoe that just gives you a good level of everything, really, a bit of cushioning, a bit of stability, this is a good shoe for that. It doesn't particularly have any performance elements to it. It doesn't feel like it's pushing you forward. It doesn't feel like it's giving you energy back. It's just a solid shoe for eating up the miles in comfort. And that's what a lot of people are probably looking for. So I think after that first run, nothing surprising from it. But looking forward to doing a few more miles in it to see if I get anything else, and that midsole maybe softens up a little bit more.
So some early thoughts of that first run in the Brooks Glycerin 22, and I would say this still feels like a Glycerin shoe. So for anyone worried, I think, or cautious about the changes here, particularly from a kind of cushioning technology point of view, I still feel like this is going to be a shoe that's going to work for the same types of runs and give you a similar experience. You know, this is going to be a good long run shoe. This is going to be a good shoe to spend a lot of your kind of training time if you're doing a marathon and really not massively fussed about your kind of speed, but just wanting to kind of make sure you're getting that running time in your legs. This is still going to be a shoe to do that, and it's going to be very comfortable, very controlled, very reliable, very stable. All those qualities I think are still going to be here in the Glycerin 22. When I look at the changes, the big changes from the 21, I think, see, it's a heavier shoe. I really would have preferred a lighter shoe than the Glycerin 21, and that's not what we've got here in the Glycerin 22, so I'm a little bit disappointed about that. I like the fact that it is a little bit more padded in places, particularly around the heel collar. You know, I take more comfort, but that obviously has come at expense, I think, along with, you know, a bit more rubber in the outsole, you know, adding that weight over the previous shoe, which wasn't a light shoe either. Then you get to that DNA Tunes midsole, which is inevitable. We're going to see it rolled out to other Brooks shoes. The Glycerin 22 is the next shoe. I think it worked really well in the Glycerin Max, and I think with the Glycerin Max, it was a really kind of well-rounded shoe. I think it had a little bit of versatility about it, and, you know, it worked very nicely. I think for me, am I seeing the best of it here off that first run? But I do think compared to my experience in the Glycerin 21, I do think the ride is a little bit more memorable, a little bit more bouncy, a little bit more rebound there, which I really like, and I think you can roll through a little bit nicer compared to the Glycerin 21. So there's definitely some positives here. There's definitely some things here that I think over longer term testing, I really get a sense of whether that cushioning technology change is going to make it a significantly better shoe. So yeah, all things to kind of work out there with longer testing. You know, it's good to see that the price has stuck to, you know, the Glycerin 21 price. Is it going to be, I think, the shoe that I would probably go from the Brooks range, or what I'm seeing? I think the Glycerin Max is probably that shoe that I would probably pick over those cushion shoes. But I think in terms of the changes that I'm seeing here off that first run, I think they are going to be positive ones. And crucially, it's not going to detract from what the Glycerin is about and what it really kind of delivers. So yeah, I say a very good first run in the Glycerin 22, one that I'm intrigued to spend more time in to really get a sense of what's, you know, how that DNA tuned kind of cushion technology is going to feel over more testing. Okay, so there you have it, some early first run thoughts on the Brooks Glycerin 22. Now, obviously plenty more testing to be done in this shoe over the festive period and early 2025 when this shoe will be launching in the UK. We expect Nick and Kieran to get hold of this shoe, so we'll have a full multi-tester review for you then. Until then, if you've got any questions about this shoe, other shoes you're desperate to see it compared to, or want to know how it compares to, do let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.